I'm Tiffany Cloud. Welcome to The Storm, and thank you for watching today on WYLN 35. Just over 2 years ago, the Honorable Richard Hughes III was selected to be the new president judge for the Luzerne County Court of Common Pleas. Today, he's joining me on The Storm to provide a comprehensive overview of the courts, including some interesting statistics and an update on future initiatives. It's all coming up on The Storm right after the break. Welcome back to The Storm. I'm so pleased to be joined by the Honorable Richard Hughes III, who is the President Judge of the Luzerne County Court of Common Pleas. Thank you so much for coming back on The Storm.
Well, listen, thanks so much for having me, Tiffany. It's great to be here.
And I haven't had you since you become President Judge, so congratulations on that.
Thank you.
It says a lot about you that your colleagues selected you for that
Well, it's
post.
an honor, but I tell you, I have a terrific team of 9 judges I work with, and it really is a team, and we are also fortunate to have 3 senior judges who work with us on a daily basis.
Well, it's great, and I'm excited about what you've brought today. So basically, why don't you tell us about it and about this overview and why you've decided to construct it?
Well, this year at the Bench Bar Conference, we presented a report from the court. And the idea is basically to let the public know what are the initiatives that the court's putting forward. What do the courts do? Educate the public about what we do, and it's all part of enhancing the transparency that's so important. So what people will find are the 2015 statistics of what the Court of Common Pleas does and our district judges and what they do, the types of cases they handle, what are we looking forward to, what changes are we making, what are we effectuating, and now we'll do it for 2016 stats. Hopefully we'll get that out sometime this spring, and it'll be a yearly report that the public can ask for, and we'll be happy to give it to them.
So this is really the first televised disclosure of this.
That's right. We presented it to the whole Bar Association at the Bench Bar Conference. Now our goal eventually is to put it up on our website, and then people can access it really easily. Okay,
wonderful. And we're going to kind of dive through this report bit by bit. I'm going to first start by diving into the criminal division because, the layman out there typically when they think of courts, they do think of criminal type things. And I thought it was interesting to look at the new types of criminal cases that you're seeing in Luzerne County. I was personally surprised to see that 30% of the cases are property cases. That was number 1, followed second by DUI, DWI, that didn't surprise me so much, and then followed third by drug cases. Talk to me a bit about property, though, being first.
Well, I think really you can put property together with the drug problem.
Okay.
And what happens is when people are addicted to drugs and they need their drugs and they need money for their drugs, it leads to the thefts and the burglaries. And that's what we see a lot of. And it's a very sad situation. And when we talk about it as we get through the program, I'll talk to you a little bit about our diversionary programs that we're really focusing on with our drug court and our mental health court. But yeah, when you look at the statistics, and that's why it's interesting to have a report, certain things will jump out at you and you will see exactly what the courts are dealing with. Now in our criminal division, we've made some changes this year that aren't in the report.
Okay.
We've gone from 4 criminal judges down to 3. And that's worked very well because we have 3 courtrooms set up, and that works well for our district attorney's office who can set up teams and our public defenders so they're not spread so thin. We've also hired 2, we're in the process of hiring 3 court assistants, and they're going to be in the courts with our criminal judges. And for the first time when someone pleads or is sentenced, they will get a computer-generated sentencing order right in court that day, and it will also be put right into the system. So the efficiencies are much better, and it also is a system that will cut down on any errors of handwritten disposition sheets.
Oh, okay. And I do want to, we are later in the show, as you alluded to, we're going to talk about the tracks that some people with addiction issues may be eligible for. So we will get into that later in the show. Another thing I was reading in the report was a criminal division new initiative, the reinstating of a central court as an initiative. Explain that and explain the benefits of that for the audience.
So we had a central court in Luzerne County in the past,
Okay.
and then it was done away with by one of the prior district attorneys. When a person's arrested, they have to have a preliminary hearing. And that preliminary hearing is held at a district judge's office. So what we would like to do is reinstate Central Court, which was previously held in Wilkes-Barre, and there will be one in Wilkes-Barre, but we'll also have one in southern Luzerne County. What will happen is district judges will rotate through there on a schedule. And the benefits for municipalities are great because right now under the system, let's say that a defendant is in the Luzerne County Correctional Facility.
Okay.
And you have one police officer on duty in a municipality. And that police officer has to leave Hazleton, for instance, or one of the outlying areas, drive to the Luzerne County Correctional Facility, wait in a long line to get in because our prison is an older prison and can only accept one car at a time, then pick up the prisoner, bring that prisoner to the district judge's office, have the preliminary hearing, get back in the car, drive back to Wilkes-Barre, and come back here.
Yeah, it's not efficient at all.
It's not. And so what's going to happen is our new Central Court in Wilkes-Barre is going to be right next door to the prison. So a police officer will come to the Central Court, the case will be called, that police officer walks over to the prison, walks over with the prisoner, comes in. If the prisoner waives the preliminary hearing, which probably 90-some% of them do, then the matter's done. If the prisoner wants a hearing, there'll be a date certain set for a week later, and the police officer will know he's the only one scheduled for that date certain time. So he's not sitting around for hours when he's the only police officer or she's the only police officer in a municipality and can't be on duty.
Okay.
So we're pretty excited about that.
You're also doing some video conferencing technology to make things more efficient in the criminal court as an initiative. Talk to the audience about that.
Yeah, the more we can do by video, really the better. Prisoners have a right to come to court, but many times they're happy to do it by video, especially some prisoners who are in the state system would rather stay where they're working on programs in the state system rather than be brought into Luzerne County, await for their hearing here, and then be transported back to state. So we're looking, we have a good video conferencing system. It's a little bit dated. We'll be looking in the future to enhancing that. Okay,
and then before we go to break, I want to quickly say in civil court, which is next, our county has seen an increase in professional negligence filings. There were 36 medical malpractice filings in 2014, and now we're up to 55 in 2015, which is, I find, very interesting. And you also are working on efforts in that court to get homes out of foreclosure and to get monies coming back into the tax space.
Yeah, it's. I'll speak to the medical malpractice cases first.
Okay.
We in Luzerne County we have 3 major medical corporations, and so that's probably why our number is a little higher than other counties. I mean, we have CHS in Wilkes-Barre, we have Geisinger, and in Lehigh Valley down here.
Sure, that makes sense.
So I think that's probably why. But we do have a lot of medical malpractice cases, and those cases often take a lot of resources. When they go to trial, they're generally longer trials, 2 or 3 week trials, and so we have right now put 5 judges in the civil area because we have such an upswing in cases. Judge Gelb, who's head of our civil division, has done a terrific job in spearheading this mortgage diversionary program. And as we all know, when someone is down on their luck and there's a mortgage foreclosure going forward, it's a very sad thing, and this is their home. They have a right now to apply to get into the mortgage diversionary program, and if they work through the program, it's essentially a workout program. It's been very successful with bringing people out of foreclosure. They've been able to keep their homes and get on an appropriate payment plan. Get back on their feet, exactly.
With that, we're going to have to go to break. We will be right back on The Storm. Welcome back to The Storm. I'm joined today by the President Judge of the Luzerne County Court of Common Pleas, the Honorable Richard Hughes. Another civil initiative that is in the work is language access. This stat was interesting. In 2015, there were 1,064 matters requiring a Spanish language interpreter. And I also read that we are contracted with a service that provides translation in 160 languages. that's a whole interesting new dynamic, or relatively new dynamic, I suppose.
It really is. And as you know, we live in a changing county, which is a very positive thing, I think, our county. And we do have interpreters on staff, primarily for Spanish, because that is what we see the most often in our cases. But yeah, we have a great call-in system that we can get any language and in many dialects. So it's an interesting procedure the way you do it. You call in, they set you up with someone, and it works very well. I've used it many times in orphans court. And language access. If you go to our website, you'll see how important it is. I mean, you can.
And you also have sign language too
That's
available.
correct.
Very interesting. And then I'm going to dive very quickly into family court, but before that, I just wanted you to explain the role of the juvenile court, because I was reading a stat in this report that there were 620 petitions for dependency in Luzerne County, and that grants the court the decision to make decisions, the power to make decisions over a minor. Yes,
I mean that's correct. I mean there are different aspects of dependency and juvenile. Dependency falls under the orphans court. Our juvenile, as you know, has really, if you read the report, has sweeping changes, and we're really proud of where our juvenile has grown to, thanks to Judge Lupus and Judge Gartley and Judge Amesbury and now Judge Parentoni, who has taken it over. It is one of the most progressive juvenile, I think, one of the departments in the state. And
why is that?
Well, they're very focused on not the penal side, but focused on how can we work with the child and the family environment to get this young man or woman on the right track. And we have very, very caring workers there. I invite anybody to come down and see some of the programs. If you come in during the summer, we have a farm that the kids work on, and they grow their own vegetables. They learn how to, what it's like to go out and cultivate these crops, and then they bring them into the courthouse, and they have a stand on Wednesdays where they learn how to make change and sell those.
And that's nice for building self-esteem, too.
It is terrific, and the kids love it. And we've had kids actually who have successfully completed their time in juvenile and have stayed on volunteering with the program. These are the sort of initiatives which are great, and we don't have time, but again, welcome anybody in the general public to contact us and come in and just see how wonderful our juvenile program is.
Now, getting into family court, couple stats for the folks out there. Divorces in 2015, 640 processed and finalized. You also deal with child custody cases, domestic relations. Here's a fun fact. Pennsylvania, our state, our Commonwealth, finished first among all of our nation's states and territories in 6 performance measures of the Child Support Enforcement Program. So we're working to get child support well.
Extremely well.
Yes.
We have a very, very effective domestic relations section. The head of it is Jim Davis, who's been with us for years and years, does a terrific job. Family court is very busy, as you can see from the stats.
Sure.
I've just assigned another judge to family court. We now have 2. Judge Rogers is head of it. Judge Parentoni is also working there, and Judge Chet Morosky is our senior judge in family court. We've also, because of the number of divorces you see, we're just hiring our first divorce master who will handle all of those cases that go to court. So it's going to be very interesting. But yeah, wonderful crew that does our collection work.
Well, and also protections from abuse, or PFAs, fall under family court. There were 1,254 cases filed in 2015 requesting a PFA, and I was actually pleased to read that over 95% of them had temporary orders entered, because I think it's very difficult for a victim of abuse, someone living in fear, sometimes to even come forward, and seeing that many actually come to fruition is a good thing.
Yeah, we've been very aggressive. That's a very important statute, and one of the initiatives we undertook was we now have safe havens for people to go and file their initial protection from abuse. So where in the past it used to be if an individual felt that they needed a protective order and went to, and it's during the weekend, they would go to a district judge's office, and the district judge would meet them there. Now the problem with that is oftentimes it was at night, and if an alleged victim of domestic abuse left their house and tried to get to the MDJ office, if they even had a ride to the MDJ office, it was the duty MDJ. It could have been someone in Pittston, and the duty MDJ could have been down here in southern Luzerne County. You don't know if the alleged perpetrator is following them. So you could have a dangerous situation for the person and for the district judge. So what we've done in working with our 24-hour police departments is, if someone feels that they need a protective order and the courts, and our court is not open, so it's during the nighttime or on the weekends, they will be told to go, if they're in Hazleton, to PSP Hazleton, where they're safe, and they will get on FaceTime with an MDJ, and through fax machine they will get them set up. So that's one initiative that we're very pleased with.
MDJ is Magisterial District Judge, just for the audience.
Yes,
okay.
Yes, and so then if someone needs a protective order during the business hours of the Court of Common Pleas, and this is every day, twice a day, we have ex parte hearings. So what that means is, if someone feels they need a protective order, they will come in and they will see a judge either in the morning or in the afternoon, one-on-one with a stenographer, and the judge will listen to what the individual is saying, will make a determination whether they fit within the act, and based on the credibility of the case, will then issue a temporary order, and then they'll get a hearing within 10 days on PFA court days, which are Tuesdays and Thursdays. But it's extremely busy.
I love the sound of safe centers. I think it's a wonderful idea. I do a lot of shows about domestic abuse, domestic violence, etc., and I'm just thrilled to hear that you've done that. Some other new initiatives within family court. Before we go a break, we have a little less than a minute. You have a therapy dog and playroom for kids initiatives, if you could tell us about that.
We do. Judge Rogers has been fantastic. And, you know, kids come into the courthouse and it's very intimidating, and they're there usually under stressful conditions. So to have a playroom where they can go, and it's really very nice, and volunteers painted it, and it relaxes them. And the second part of that is the therapy dog, and we have a therapy dog, a black lab by the name of Moses, and he comes every Friday. And so if you're around on Friday, come over and check him out. But he also calms the kids. As
a black lab owner, I'm thrilled to hear that. And with that, we're going to take a break. We will be right back on The Storm. Welcome back to The Storm. Early in the show, we talked about the fact that many people struggle with addiction, alcohol, other substances, what have you, and that some people who have committed crimes because they have problems with addictions may be eligible for certain specialty court opportunities. If you could kind of explain how that works and who may be eligible.
Yeah, we see this, and I say we collectively as our bench, see this as one of the most important area, our diversionary programs. Right now we have a drug court, we have mental health court, and we have veterans court. And Judge Sklarowski has done a great job on spearheading these. As a matter of fact, we just had a meeting that went rather late last night. We're hoping to double the size of those as we move forward. Because we realize, and I think nationwide people realize, that there are a lot of people in prison at great expense to the taxpayer who are in there and they have a drug addiction problem that's not being dealt with, or they have a mental health problem that's not being dealt with. Now, I'm not talking about your violent criminal.
Sure.
But I'm talking about someone who's committed a theft because they have a drug addiction problem. We think that the best way to handle that, if they qualify, is to get them in a diversionary program. And these are intense programs, and they have to jump through a lot of hoops. But if they do, their chances of committing a crime and being repeat offenders go significantly down. And so we will continue to be working on these programs. And as I said, our latest one is the veterans program. So what happens there is if a veteran suffers from a drug or alcohol problem or a mental health problem, or many times both.
Which is common if you have post-traumatic stress.
Exactly. And so they're identified as a veteran. They go into these same programs, but they are assigned a veteran mentor.
Oh, I love that.
And that has been terrific. And we've had wonderful volunteers who come. And those are people who really understand the vet. They understand what they've been through. And so that just helps the process tremendously.
Your Honor, ARD, which stands for Accelerated Rehabilitative Division. So is that what drug treatment court and mental health court is, or is that separate?
That's separate. So what ARD is, and you most commonly see them in DUIs. So what happens is that if you qualify for an ARD, let's say you're a first-time offender on a DUI and you have a valid driver's license and you didn't cause an accident or something like that, you can apply for ARD. And it's a program for first-time nonviolent offenders. And if you go into it, you then are placed on ARD and you're on probation. And if you meet all the requirements of what your probation are and follow through with the different courses you have to take, at the end of it, your case goes away. And so you never plead guilty in that program. Now, if you violate the terms of your ARD while you're on it, then you're back on the list and you will face either a trial or a plea on that. But it's a very good program for first-time offenders.
I have to say, just in closing, let's not forget our magistrates. When we were talking about the MDJs earlier, total cases processed by MDJs in 2015, 76,467. I'll give you the last 45 seconds to just give a shout out to the MDJs.
I am so glad you brought that up. These guys and women are on the front line. Their staffs are terrific. They handle so many cases. They're extremely professional. We have 16 wonderful district judges in our county. I'm proud of each one of them. We work very closely together. Judge Zola from down here is right now the head of our MDJs. And again, glad you gave me an opportunity to just tell everyone what a super job they do.
Thank you so much, Your Honor, for coming on the show. I appreciate that you've put this presentation together to provide transparency and to help the folks understand what the courts do. And remember, folks, when you look around and don't like what you see, don't complain about it. You can do something about it. Thank you for watching.